How thrilling. How fantastico. How neato burrito-ish. Okay. 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 Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. What the hell? Hello. Hello. Check 1, 2.
Yo.
Hey, man.
You weren't checking for me, were you?
No, but I am trying to figure
okay.
out why I'm not. Let's figure out this.
Do you not hear yourself or something?
Yeah, I should be hearing myself, but I'm not hearing myself. Input. There we go. Check 1 of their 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Something's all right. Which means actually it may be right. Yeah. Let's see. Sandy, can you hear me? Checking 1 of their 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Testing 1, 2. Hi. Hi, simply hi.
Yeah. You're back in 30 seconds.
I'm back in 30 seconds. You cannot hear me. Great. Let's see. Why can't she hear me? Checking 1 of their 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's coming there. Let's reboot.
All right, here we go, man.
Okay. You are listening to the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Our telephone number is 866-660-5759. And so maybe a second special counsel. That would be good. I'd like to see that. And I'm sure that there are many other people that would like to see that as well. There is, however, one more thing coming out of the testimony today. The FBI has asked the Senate for unredacted documents it obtained from abortion providers like Planned Parenthood, signaling that agents may be investigating whether Planned Parenthood and other abortion providers illegally sold fetal tissue and body parts. This according to sources familiar with the documents. The request was made in recent days, according to the sources, to the Senate Judiciary Committee, whose chairman, Senator Chuck Grassley, last December referred Planned Parenthood and several other abortion providers to the FBI for investigation after a lengthy probe into the transfers of fetal tissue. Something about a Lamborghini, as I remember. Grassley said at the time his committee had uncovered enough evidence in its final investigative report to show abortion providers had transferred tissue and body parts from aborted fetuses to firms for use in research by charging dollar amounts well above their actual costs. Unbelievable. Abortion providers are allowed under a 1993 law to transfer fetal tissue for research at a cost equal to that of obtaining it, but are not allowed to sell it at a profit. We are reasonably sure that that is not the case, that there is a profit being made. And that, of course, is abominable. The Justice Department has declined comment, saying it does not confirm or deny whether investigations are taking place. A spokesman for the FBI did not immediately respond to a request for comment. This reported by The Hill and John Solomon. Planned Parenthood said that while it is aware of Grassley's prior request for a criminal probe, none of its affiliates has had any contact with the FBI. It noted it provided more than 30,000 pages of documents and several witnesses to the congressional probes and believe it has complied with the law. Quote, Planned Parenthood strongly disagrees with the recommendations of the Senate Republican staff to refer this matter to the Justice Department, especially in light of the fact that investigations by 3 other congressional committees and investigations in 13 states, including a grand jury in Texas, have all shown that Planned Parenthood did nothing wrong. This according to Dana Singeiser, the Vice President of Government Affairs for Planned Parenthood and the Planned Parenthood Federation of America. These accusations are baseless, part of a widely discredited attempt to end access to reproductive health care at Planned Parenthood, which, of course, is a lie. It's an absolute lie. No one is trying to attempt to end access to reproductive health care at Planned Parenthood. What we're trying to do is we're trying to make sure that Planned Parenthood follows in the footsteps of the American Cancer Society, the American Heart Association, and funds itself for its work. There's nothing wrong with that. Planned Parenthood doesn't need to be a government organization at all. That it is abhorrent, and it needs to stop being an acolyte of government, especially considering, I don't know, I just don't believe that many government workers ought to have access to Lamborghinis. How about you? Am I just being narrow-minded? You're listening to the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Our telephone number, do not forget, is 844-927-6691. We'll be back with more of today's news, comment, and your thoughts as well on the USA Radio Network. Stay right there. Why isn't that? Why am I not?
You didn't get it figured out yet?
No, it's like I hit an extra key.
Yeah.
And now I can't, for whatever reason. But do me a favor. Can you do you remember bringing me up on YouTube yesterday? Yeah. Can you do that again, please?
I sure can.
Please bring me up and see if you can hear from the computer itself.
Okay.
What's going on? Sandy, darling, can you hear me over the computer? Yeah. All right.
Let me see. So I got you. I got your page up. Oh, here we go.
Testing 1, 2, 3, 4.
Can I just pull the one up? Oh, this is the one from yesterday.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. Here. No, actually, let me. Go back to my page. I'm sorry. I just put that link up there. There you go. There's today's page. You should be able to refresh and get it. Okay.
All right, one sec.
That's on the Wells Report page. I'm now moving to the John David Wells page.
Oh, okay. I'm on your page.
Hang on a minute.
Okay.
I can get that done. Watch. Okay. Do a refresh. Wait, hold on. Wait.
Okay.
Now do a refresh. Here.
All right.
Doodly doo
Awesome.
doo doo doo. Okay. Can you hear me speaking? Yes, you can hear me. I had to go out and come back in though, but yes, I can hear you. On your computer, that is. On the phone, not the computer. That's what I thought.
I got you coming through the computer.
You got me coming through the computer?
Yeah, see, I'm going to send it to you so you can hear it.
Oh.
Wait.
That sounds like me.
Yeah, that's you.
That sounds like me.
I got you coming through the computer.
Oh, yeah. There you go. Okay, cool. All right, so there you go. All right, then. We got 5 people watching on the computer. Yes, you should be able to hear me on the computer, darling. I just can't hear me on the computer, and no one knows why. But I'm going to leave it alone, as if it does not matter, because truly in the long end, if it's coming out of the computer where someone can hear it, then we don't have anything to fear or worry about. See what I mean? Oops. Much time?
You got 3.5.
Oh, God, we've got all kinds of time. All kinds of time. All kinds of time. Okay. All right. And there you go. All right, then. I'm very happy-ish.
Happy-ish.
I am very, very, very happy-ish. Very happy-ish. Very, 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 very happy-ish. Okay. Alrighty. Let's see, where are we here? All right. So what I really need to do is I need to go, let's see here. I need the other mouse. It's amazing that I cannot use that mouse to get there from here. Let's see here. Okay. Let's make this smaller. Let's make this smaller, smaller, about like that. Let's move this over here. Now, after making it smaller, let's make it bigger. Wong, what's this? Ryan K. Still trying to get me a deal. Still trying to get me a job. It's really wild. This guy showed up and started wanted to give me a job. But for whatever reason, I didn't ask him to. He just started interacting with me.
Oh, okay.
It was really very weird. It was very strange.
Well, that's pretty good. Nobody does that for me, man.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that weird? Totally weirdness. Total and complete weirdness. Weirdness. Nothing but weirdness. Nothing but weirdness. Weirdness. Weirdness, weirdness.
So you got about 30 seconds or so.
Okay. Let's see if I can get rid of that. Okay.
All right, here we go in 10 seconds.
I am ready. North to south, coast to coast, you are listening to the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Our telephone number is 844-927-6691. 844-927-6691. You get to join us, and you get to be a part of this radio broadcast. This is an interactive news show called the Wells Report. We bring you the news. We bring you the facts, not necessarily the same thing. And then what we do is I comment on those facts, and then you debate my commentary at 844-927-6691. Looking forward to hearing what you have to say. There are there seems to be a web of connections between the Trump campaign, the anti-secrecy website WikiLeaks, and the public disclosures that WikiLeaks injected in the presidential campaign. Federal investigators are examining some of these relationships and whether any of them were part of an effort to coordinate with the Russian election meddling efforts. Now, this is from Marshall Cohen of CNN. And I'm going to draw your attention to a journalistic device. It's actually not a journalistic device. It's a propagandist device. Because clearly, Marshall Cohen is not providing a news service, but a propaganda mission. Okay? A propaganda mission. Let me explain how I can tell you that that is indeed the fact. There is a web of connections between the Trump campaign, the anti-secrecy website WikiLeaks, and the public disclosures it injected into the presidential campaign. A web of connections. What does that mean to you? When you hear someone talking about a web of connections, does that mean something honest, or does it have a flavor of nefariousness? It is nefarious to a degree, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is not what you believe it should be, is it? There's some nefariousness. There's something going on. A web of connections between the Trump campaign, the anti-secrecy website WikiLeaks, and the public disclosures that I screwed that up all 3 times I tried it, and the public disclosures it injected into the presidential campaign of 2016. Now, remember, Robert Mueller is not investigating WikiLeaks, and whether or not WikiLeaks is trying to or was trying to influence the 2016 presidential campaign. It wouldn't be much of an investigation because clearly WikiLeaks was indeed attempting to influence the 2016 presidential campaign. And I dare say they were very, very effective at it. But this is where the propaganda curtain begins to fall into place. The web of connections between WikiLeaks, the anti-secrecy website, the Trump campaign, and the public disclosures that WikiLeaks injected into the presidential campaign. Federal investigators are examining some of these relationships and whether any of them were parts of an effort to coordinate with Russia's election meddling efforts. The ball of yarn gets ever more tangled the more the sentence unfolds, because it is a preposterous ideology that says that these things are somehow related. But that's the stock in trade of the propagandist. To create in the mind suspicion, a web of connections. And then to say, well, there might be something going on here between this and that and such and so. Quite literally, a 4-part machination. And then you ended with Russia's election meddling efforts. Remember, there is a special counsel, a special prosecutor, if you will, looking into the possibility that Russia may have meddled in the 2016 presidential election. But as time has gone by, the investigation into the possibility that may have happened has morphed into, quote, Russia's election meddling efforts in news script. We don't know that the Russians actually tried to meddle in the election. We don't know. But what they're trying to do is create, well, it's conventional wisdom. Everybody knows that actually happened. And come on, don't be stupid. See, that's the thing. If you say, I'm sorry, but do we actually know whether Russia meddled? They will say, what are you, some kind of an idiot? You are mentally defective if you don't see what's plainly in front of your face. What I plainly see in front of my face is a propagandist named Marshall Cohen. I'm not seeing much journalism. Journalism is different. Instead of saying there is a web of connections between the Trump campaign, the anti-secrecy website WikiLeaks, and the public disclosures WikiLeaks injected into the presidential campaign of 2016, you would say something along the line of this if it was journalism. Is there a web of connection between the Trump campaign, the anti-secrecy website WikiLeaks, the disclosures WikiLeaks injected into the presidential campaign, and perhaps Russia? That's a good question. Federal investigators are examining some of these relationships to see if that's the case. And you just throw the Russian election meddling statement right out of the paragraph. There you go, the difference between propaganda and news. Yesterday, it was revealed that Donald Trump Jr. exchanged some private messages on Twitter with WikiLeaks during the 2016 presidential campaign. How many messages do you think Donald Trump Jr. exchanged based on that sentence? Based on that sentence, how many messages did Donald Trump Jr. exchange with WikiLeaks during the 2016 presidential campaign? You can call me. 844-927-6691. Can you tell me? Do you know? The answer is 3. But if you say, on Monday, it was revealed that Donald Trump Jr. exchanged some private messages on Twitter with WikiLeaks, you wonder, I wonder how many there were. 3. A source familiar with the matter told CNN that Congress has known about these messages for a while. They came up during Trump Jr.'s closed-door testimony in September. So once again, the bombshell, my goodness gracious, so many bombshells. It's almost like it's a war or something. Another bombshell shows up that, yes, indeed, Donald Trump Jr. may have tweeted with WikiLeaks. Has nothing to do with Russians. Has nothing to do with anything. But we're reporting it as news, even though it's not news because it was talked about in a closed-door meeting with Congress the other day. Oh. Well, we didn't know that it was talked about in the closed-door meeting. Actually, no, I'm sorry. You guys have sources all over Capitol Hill. You knew exactly what was being said in that, quote, closed-door meeting, unquote. The messages show that WikiLeaks reached out fairly often to Trump Jr., who is only known to have replied on 2 occasions. Okay, so according to Marshall Cohen, Donald Trump Jr. exchanged some private messages. Wouldn't that be a couple? What's interesting is that Donald Trump Jr. says himself it was 3. But this journalism is so bad as journalism, pretty good as propaganda, but so bad as journalism, they don't even get the actual number of interactions between Donald Trump Jr. and WikiLeaks correct in their own copy. So you see, you can see why I'm so upset about some of this. Not only is it not news, it's propaganda. It's exceptionally bad news and even worse propaganda. You would think that if CNN was going to go down the tubes, they'd at least go down the tubes properly. But I guess not. Their incompetence with the news is only equaled by their incompetence with propaganda. What a mess. Especially when you consider that the mess can so easily be discerned. And oh, by the way, remedied by some guy in Dallas, Texas, on a small network radio broadcast that disassembles CNN and most of the other news in the mainstream media on a daily basis as the junk, the fake news that it actually is. Every day, there's another bit of gobbledygooky and crapola that I get to the bottom of on this broadcast. Yes, Michael, I said gobbledygooky and crapola. You should probably write that down along with the time. People are going to say, excuse me, what did he say? What was that? What was the phrase? Gobbledygooky and crapola? Is that what he said? Yeah. Darn right, that's what I said. Where was I? Oh, yeah. So apparently there were two, according to this article, which is pitiful. There were actually three. Trump Jr.'s final response to WikiLeaks was in October of 2016, although WikiLeaks continued to reach out to him over and over and over. And then there's this timeline. The timeline goes from July of 2015. It starts with something that has nothing to do with anything having to do with Donald Trump Jr.'s exchanges with WikiLeaks. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pages. And if you were not paying attention, you would think that these were all interactions with WikiLeaks from Donald Trump Jr. That's what they wanted you to believe. Hackers working for Russian intelligence, this is July 2015. Hackers working for Russian intelligence services gained access to the Democrat National Committee's computer networks as part of and then of course the propaganda as part of the Kremlin's campaign to interfere in the 2016 presidential race. No, the alleged campaign to interfere. Then, March 2016, another group of Russian hackers breached the DNC systems. Again, doesn't have anything to do with Donald Trump Jr. and WikiLeaks. March 19th, Russian hackers gain access to Podesta's emails. No Donald Trump Jr., no WikiLeaks. Papadopoulos learns the Russians have Clinton emails. No Donald Trump Jr., no WikiLeaks. Cambridge Analytica CEO emails WikiLeaks. By the way, Cambridge Analytica is a data analytics firm. Has nothing to do with Donald Trump Jr. or WikiLeaks. The Trump Tower meeting. Donald Trump Jr., his brother-in-law, Jared Kushner, and then Trump's then campaign chairman, Paul Manafort, attended a private meeting in Trump Tower with Russian lawyers and others. The meeting was arranged after Trump Jr. was promised damaging information on Hillary Clinton. No damaging information, no conversation between WikiLeaks and Donald Trump Jr. Are you getting the picture? Are you beginning to see the realities of this? Are you beginning to see that all this is yes, gobbledygooky and crapola, designed to make the president of the United States look as weak as humanly possible on a day-to-day basis with scant details, no facts, and propaganda as the guide. This is the Wells Report.
All right, man.
Wow. That's not bad. Not bad, actually. No. Local break. 54 to 58.50, right? Network break 58 to 50. Okay, so that's correct. Except I need to change that to, how do I change that to segment D? How do I do that? All right, I just won't. I'll come back to file and I'll say save clock. Save clock. And we will call it TWR. Maybe I should use the correct keyboard. TWR1. Actually, it's TWR USA 1. There we go. Perfect. Okay. Open clock. We want to, how do I get rid of this one? Okay. How do I delete the clock? Delete clock. Delete clock. by now? Yes. Yes. Done. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. Okay, good. Okay. Bye-bye and bye-bye. Voila. Mark all is read.
All right, back in 30 seconds.
30 damn seconds. Hello? Another school shooting in California. Well, actually, we don't know.
All right, here we go.
Yeah. You are listening to the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells, 844-927-6691. Yesterday, it was reported that Donald Trump Jr. exchanged with WikiLeaks. That's right, WikiLeaks. You know what that's called? Yeah, it's called free speech. It's called tweeting with WikiLeaks. By the way, I want you to know, I mean, truth in advertising here, I have tweeted with WikiLeaks. I actually spoke with somebody from WikiLeaks. I was trying to get in touch with Julian Assange. Almost did it. And so here we go. We have 3 interactions, according to these people. It was actually only 2. And let's see, Donald Trump in this listing of events destined to try to fool you into believing that Donald Trump Jr. was interacting with WikiLeaks for all of this stuff. It's in the second page before Donald Trump Jr. is even mentioned. Let's see. Trump says it's a joke. Trump, I guess that's Donald Trump. New York Times reports the U.S. believes Russia hacked the DNC. Trump publicly asks Russia to hack Clinton's deleted emails, which was funny, but everybody said he actually was trying to get them to do it. Oh, okay. Yeah. Roger Stone says he was in touch with Assange. Roger Stone advisor claimed to be in touch with Assange, but that's still not Donald Trump Jr. Let's see, Donald Trump Jr. Okay, here we go. This is on page, let's see, that's 1, 2, 3. On page 4, we finally get our first WikiLeaks and Trump Jr. exchange private messages on Twitter. WikiLeaks reached out to Donald Trump Jr. just before midnight on September 20th, 2016, regarding an anti-Trump website that it said was about to launch. WikiLeaks guessed the password, shared it with Trump Jr., who replied, off the record, I don't know who that is, but I'll ask around, thanks. Well, that's clearly, something that you've got to report on the pages of CNN. I mean, think about that, the explosiveness of that statement. Off the record, I don't know who that is, but I'll ask around. My God, can you see the smoking gun right now? Me neither. Trump Jr. then emailed a group of senior Trump campaign officials notifying that WikiLeaks had reached out. The email was sent to Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, then campaign manager Kellyanne Conway, then campaign CEO Steve Bannon, Brad Parscale, and so on and so on and so on. Let's see. Then Trump Jr. and WikiLeaks exchange more private messages. This on page 5. WikiLeaks sent a link about Clinton criticizing Assange to Trump Jr., asking him to share it. Trump Jr. replies, already did that earlier today. It's amazing what she can get away with. In a follow-up message, Trump Jr. asks, what's behind this Wednesday leak I keep hearing about? WikiLeaks did not respond. Huh. Interesting. So that must be the 3 interactions. Because there's nothing else left. Oh, there is one other thing. Trump Jr. speaks at a dinner for Russia-friendly organization. He flew to France and spoke at a dinner hosted by the Center for Political and Foreign Affairs, according to the Wall Street Journal. Yeah, he spoke to it. The paper reported that Trump Jr. was paid for the speaking engagement. The think tank was founded by Fabien Bassart. He and his wife, Randa Cassis, hosted the event Trump Jr. attended in Paris. She heads a Moscow-endorsed Syrian opposition group and has met with many senior Russian officials. And there you go. Donald Trump Jr. speaking at a group that was hosted by a woman who'd actually spent some time talking with Russian officials. The connection is clear. And on and on and on. So most of the actual interaction between WikiLeaks and Donald Trump Jr. was WikiLeaks reaching out to Donald Trump Jr. Done. Had nothing to do with Donald Trump Jr. reaching out to WikiLeaks, which, by the way, has nothing to do with anybody doing anything with Russia. But it's all over CNN. Why? Because CNN has embarrassed itself and gotten itself into this morass, this mess, this gigantic, unbelievable pit of foolishness that it has to fix now. And how's it going to fix it? It's going to fix it by creating the news, by propagandizing to the point where maybe you might believe what's actually going on, which is nothing. At the very least, it's malpractice. At the very worst, it's sedition. You choose. You decide which is which. You're listening to the Wells Report. This is the USA Radio Network. Back in a moment.
All right, sounding good. You got about 3.5 minutes. I'm gonna run to the restroom real quick.
Oh my God, restrooming it, are you? Well, there you have it.
I'll be right back.
Thanks.
All right, man. We're back in 45 seconds.
I will be back in 45 seconds. I am ready. I am red eye.
Always ready.
I am always ready. I am always ready. I am always ready. I'm always ready. I'm always ready.
All right, here we go.
You are listening to the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Our telephone number is 844-927-6691. 844-927-6691. Have you heard about this? Senator Bob Corker, who is leaving the United States Senate in disgrace because he's one of these swamp creatures. You know, when they talk about the swamp, they're talking about people like Bob Corker. Yeah, Bob Corker is leaving the Senate because he just doesn't want to filthify himself by having to play politics the way Donald Trump does it, you know, by serving the people. How distasteful. Ugh. Yeah, he doesn't want to serve the people, so he wants government to serve itself. And that is exactly what government is doing right this minute. Strangely enough, it's on his order. Okay? In an effort to try to discredit, President Trump in some way, in order to try to discredit President Trump, what he has done is he has decided that, well, you know what's actually happening, don't you? I mean, really, when it comes right down to it, what's actually happening is that this president, this theoretical president, is leading the world to World War III. Yeah, World War III. That's what he's doing. He's leading the world to World War III. And since he's doing that, he now says the time has come for Congress to review the realities of the unreal statement made by this lame duck senator that indeed President Trump intends to lead the country into World War III. Senator Cuckoo, first of all, I cannot wait until you are completely gone. It will be a great day when you are completely gone, and I can hardly wait until you are completely gone. But until you are completely gone, we're going to have to deal with you, but I'm going to deal with you in plain terms. Senator Corker wants Congress to review the realities of the president's authority to order a nuclear attack. See, because he is very, very sure that while Hillary Clinton could certainly deal with nuclear weapons far better than Donald Trump, he's really concerned about Donald Trump and nuclear weapons. You know, because whenever the people of the United States, especially in flyover country, those people clinging to their Bibles and guns, when they elect someone like the President of the United States, the entire nuclear inventory becomes the private plaything of the president. You do know that, correct? The answer, of course, is no. That is not what happens. It's not anywhere close to what happens. The president takes his place when it comes to the release of nuclear weapons. He takes his place in something called National Command Authority. The President of the United States, the Secretary of Defense, the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, they all decide just exactly whether or not the release of nuclear weapons will be authorized. That way, not a single person actually has control of the nuclear inventory. And Senator Corker knows this. But what's he trying to do? Well, he's trying to embarrass the President of the United States. And so what he's doing is he's admonishing the Congress, we've got to determine whether or not the President Trump, is stable enough to have the entire nuclear inventory of the United States of America as his personal toy. Which is wrong on so many levels, I really don't know where to start, but let me start with this. Quote, to be clear, I would not support changes that could reduce our deterrence of adversaries or reassurance of our allies, unquote, said Corker. I don't want to support changes that would reduce our deterrence or adversaries or deterrence of our adversaries and reassurance of our allies. Yeah, I don't want to do that. Then why don't you just leave it the hell alone? Oh, because you're trying to embarrass Donald Trump. Oh, okay, I get it. Corker said that it's been more than 40 years since a congressional committee had reviewed the president's unchecked power over the nation's nuclear arsenal. There is nothing in the United States that operates without checks and balances during Republican administrations. During Democrat administrations, there's all kinds of people that have absolute control of everything. It's not true. Yeah. The people that had an unchecked power at the Obama administration, what, Susan Rice, Eric Holder, Loretta Lynch, they had unchecked powers. But in the Republican Party, well, there are no unchecked powers. Making the decision to go to war of any sort is a heavy responsibility for our nation's elected leaders, and the decision to use nuclear weapons is the most consequential of all. Congress needs to explore the realities of this system. Asked before the hearing if he was worried about Trump having access to the nation's nuclear arsenal, Corker said this hearing is not specific to anybody. Yeah, right. The hearing today came as Donald Trump continued to trade insults with North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un, admitted concerns by some members of Congress about the executive branch's authority to wage war, particularly with nuclear weapons. The committee is clearly looking into the remedies to ensure that a demented president could not unilaterally start a nuclear conflagration, said Bill Blair, an expert on nuclear command and control and a research scholar at the Program of Science and Global Security at Princeton University. Bruce Blair, you ignorant person. I almost said something else that rhymed with duck. Bruce Blair, you ignorant person. You know full well the Nuclear Command Authority. You know everything there is to know about it. What are you doing playing this stupid game with this lame duck senator? A demented president cannot launch nuclear weapons. Not a demented United States president. A demented U.S. president cannot launch nuclear weapons on his own. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable that people would actually descend to this level of misdirection, misleading the American people again. As commander-in-chief, the president has sole authority to order a nuclear strike. Wrong. While existing procedures call for the president to consult first with military and civilian leaders, the final decision rests with him. Wrong. No one can veto the president's decision. Wrong. By the way, Blair, this theoretical idiot, this moron here, is the co-founder of Global Zero, an international movement for the elimination of nuclear weapons. trying to scare everybody to death by thinking a president of the United States has sole control over the nuclear inventory. No one can veto his decision to fire a nuclear weapon. Balderdash. Jeez Louise. Talk about fake news. This, by the way, in the pages of USA Today. This is complete fake news. By the way, there are other articles that you can read about in case you're not scared snotless about what Bruce Blair is lying to you about. More. North Korean nuclear missile attack threat accelerating. More. Nuclear war. What is nuclear winter? It's when so much dust from nuclear weapons gets kicked up into the air that the sun cannot touch the Earth's surface. And everything freezes. Yeah. And millions of years from now, they'll dig up our bones and wonder what happened here. And Bruce Blair will be pointing toward the Oval Office, the West Wing of the White House, in silent death row saying, it was him. Some members of Congress are pushing for a check on the president's powers, particularly his ability to order a preemptive strike. He doesn't have an ability to order a preemptive strike. Bills filed in January by Representative Ted Lieu, the Democrat from California, and Senator Edward Markey, the Democrat from Massachusetts. Are we beginning to see the pattern here? You know, Bob Corker, the Democrat from Tennessee. Oh, he's a Republican. No, he's not. He's a Democrat. Bills filed in January by Representative Ted Lieu and Senator Edward Markey would prohibit the president from launching a preemptive nuclear strike without a declaration of war by Congress. Neither piece of legislation gained any traction in the Republican-controlled Congress. But Trump's aggressive approach toward North Korea continues to raise fears that his rhetoric might backfire and further inflame tensions. Trump threatened in August to unleash fire and fury like the world has never seen. This in response to reports that the communist regime had developed a warhead that could be mounted on a ballistic missile. We still don't know that that's the case. And the person that they should be worried about is Kim Jong-un, not Donald Trump. But then again, you can't scare people snotless with propaganda and bad journalism and fake news if you actually report something that's semi-true. Wow. This is absolutely inexcusable. More. This is how many missiles North Korea will test before the end of the year. More. North Korea says it may test a hydrogen bomb over the Pacific Ocean. Sure they will. At Tuesday's hearing, senators were to hear from C. Robert Keller, a retired Air Force general who served as commander of the United States Strategic Command, Peter Feaver, a political science and public policy professor at Duke University, and Brian McKeon, former acting undersecretary for policy at the Defense Department. We simply have to curtail President Trump's ability to order a preemptive strike, a nuclear strike. So stupid. So incredibly dumb. So, now you know the news. Is the Senate investigation into President Trump's nuclear weapons acumen an abuse of power by lame duck Senator Bob Corker? The answer is yes. 844-927-6691. Let me ask you this question. What would have happened to Senator Corker if he would have tried to investigate President Obama's competence with nuclear weapons? What do you suppose would have happened then? Yeah, exactly. JC Fab on the chat room of YouTube live events where the Wells Report is currently being streamed live says, I bet Blair has nothing to say about Kim Jong-un. You're exactly right. You're exactly right. So we the pernicious. Is the Senate investigation into President Trump's nuclear weapons acumen and abuse of power by lame duck Senator Bob Corker? Yes. What would have happened to Senator Corker if he would have tried to investigate President Obama's competence with nuclear weapons? That's right. He would have been run out of office on a rail, which is probably something that ought to happen right now. Why don't we just send Bob Corker home? Bob, go away. We don't need you any longer. Thank you for playing. Here, take the home version of the game home with you. This is the Wells Report on the USA Radio Network. Oh, yeah.
All right. Looks like everything's timing out good.
Yep. We're doing okay.
Man, this time just flies by.
It really does. It really does. It's like, okay, let me check the bulletin. Um, oh.
All right, you got 30 seconds, man.
All right, I'm ready.
All right, here we go.
I'm ready. You are listening to the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. This is America's only interactive newscast on the USA Radio Network. We've been watching a shooting event in Tehama County in California. Authorities are investigating a deadly shooting spree, this in Northern California, that ended at an elementary school. Tehama County Assistant Sheriff Paul Johnston said this earlier today.
We're working on motives at this time to figure out what the motive was for this death.
Like I said, this ended at an elementary school. The gunman has not been identified yet. He shot 4 adults to death before he was shot and killed by law enforcement. 10 other people are hospitalized with wounds. 2 of those are boys. The spree started at a home in rural Tehama County this morning and moved to the school. Johnston revealed the gunman fired multiple rounds covering 7 crime scenes. The gunman is believed to be known to the police. His identity has yet to be confirmed at this time. We will keep our eyes on that story, and we'll let you know more about it as soon as we know more about it. So once again, a couple of pernicious, nasty senators led by Bob Corker, who is a lame duck senator from Tennessee. We, the pernicious, are now looking into President Trump's ability to launch nuclear weapons because everybody knows he can launch nuclear weapons anytime he wants to. Yeah, he's got the sole control of the nuclear inventory. You know, we've got people who are lying to you saying that the president has sole control and nobody can veto him. Yeah. That's not true. That's bogosity writ large. I find this especially infuriating because everybody knows better. Senator Corker knows better. This dumb butt who is trying to tell everybody that the president can't be vetoed, he knows better. All these people know better. So why are they doing this? Just to try to erode President Trump's standing in the world. That's all. CNN says the potential that Trump could use existing law to authorize the deployment of a nuclear weapon on his own is becoming the subject of frequent conversation and bipartisan anxiety. Senate Foreign Relations Committee Chairman Bob Corker will hold a hearing today on the authority of the president to maintain sole authority to launch nuclear weapons. A NATO partner country raised concerns about the president's command of the U.S. launch system. A diplomatic source from that country said they were more comfortable following a briefing on the subject. That briefing, by the way, contained parts of what I just told you. There is a national command authority. Command and control governing nuclear weapons is just a bit more sophisticated than one guy with a key. And no veto power. No one can stop the president. Edward Markey, another one of these lame duck Democrat Massachusetts fools. He sits on the Foreign Relations panel, said the more people think about this, the more they realize Donald Trump can start a nuclear war. Seriously? There's nothing that can be done by the president to launch any kind of nuclear attack on his own. Can't do it. So stop worrying about it and tell Bob Corker to stand down. As a matter of fact, tell him to stand down, pack his office, and go home. Go home. You're listening to the Wells Report. Thanks very much for being a part of the broadcast. You can join us anytime you'd like. 844-927-6691. 844-927-6691. This is the Wells Report.
All right, man.
Did I nip it or did I get nipped?
I don't see. I can pull it up and see.
No, don't worry about it.
Okay. You probably didn't, though. I'm pretty sure you didn't.
Okay, cool.
All right. You got about six and a half minutes.
6.5 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go see if I can whip up something to munch. Stand by.
All right. Awesome.
Hey, Mike, can you give me the news, please?
What was that, man? You want to hear the news, you said?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Okay. 1 sec.
Against him, according to a new Political Morning Consult poll released earlier today. Only 16% said Moore
Can
should
you hear
continue his campaign, with 24% undecided. The
Yep.
poll was conducted between November 9th and 11th, and it's unclear how many people were actually from the state of Alabama.
All right. I'll be right back in 1 minute.
Remains high. USA Radio's Doug Christian reports.
The government jobs report for October shows the U.S. economy rebounding strongly, despite several massive hurricanes. The unemployment rate is down now to 4.1%, the lowest level since 2000. Confidence in the job market has risen to a new high. Rasmussen reports that 39% of American adults believe the job market is better than it was a year ago. That's up from 35% in May, and the highest level of confidence in regular surveying since early 2010. Doug Christian, Washington.
You're listening to USA Radio News.
Hey, it's Brandon. For years, I couldn't get to sleep, and then I found MyPillow, and my sleep trouble went away. MyPillow works, and if you care about getting a good night's sleep, you'll get one today. Go to MyPillow.com or call 800-951-8175 and ask for the radio listener special. Use promo code USA. You will now get 50% off of 2 MyPillow premium pillows and 2 Go Anywhere pillows. Call 800-951-8175 or go to MyPillow.com and use promo code USA to get this unbelievable offer. Don't lose another night of good sleep.
Attorney General Jeff Sessions insists he's never lied to members of Congress. Sharon Reed reports.
Attorney General Jeff Sessions tells members of the House Judiciary Committee that while he now recalls one meeting where a Trump campaign advisor discussed Russia, he's always told the truth about Russia and the presidential campaign.
I can only do my best to answer your questions as I understand them and to the best of my memory. But I will not accept and reject accusations that I have ever lied. That is a lie.
Sessions says he now recalls telling campaign advisor George Papadopoulos he was not authorized to represent the campaign with the Russian government. Sessions says he would have reported the meeting to Congress had he remembered it.
The nation's largest healthcare company, Johnson & Johnson, is joining the VA on a campaign to raise awareness about the suicide rate among military veterans. And USA Radio's Chris Barnes has more.
Dr. David Huff says the Veterans Administration's own statistics show that every 65 minutes, a U.S. veteran commits suicide.
At least 22 veterans a day on average are subject to suicide.
Dr. Huff says vets who experience combat are more prone to depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, substance abuse, and brain injury at higher rates. J&J and the VA releasing a new public service announcement starring Tom Hanks to try to combat stigmas about mental illness and getting treatment for it.
A handshake, a phone call, a simple gesture make a big difference to a veteran in crisis.
You're listening to USA Radio News. My name is Tim Burton.
All right, man, we got 45 seconds.
Fine, 45 seconds. I'm paying attention. Ish.
All right, here we go.
North to south, coast to coast, you are listening to the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Our telephone number is 844-927-6691. 844-927-6691. And yes, just in case you wanted to know, there is still a mess in Alabama. Yeah, the Roy Moore is a former Supreme Court justice of the state of Alabama. He has been in elective politics for 40 years. Fortunately, the Washington Post is the only newspaper in America that could figure out that this guy has apparently sexually abused teenage girls. Even by, let's look at the way he's done it. He's picked women up at their homes, taken them to his house 30 miles away, brought them back, dumped them off in front of their houses. Nobody asked the girls anything. No, this last woman, it was 1977, 40 years ago, and she can't, and he can't remember even meeting her, doesn't know anything about her. But because of all of this gobbledygooky and crap, and because apparently in the United States Senate, you are guilty until you're proven innocent, which means that the entire chamber, or at least the Republican side, is no longer constitutionally compliant. We're now in a situation where Roy Moore is being pressured to step away from the mandate given him by Republicans in the state of Alabama. It is my sincere hope that he does not do so. The politics are taking place. He is less than a month away, about 3 weeks away from a special election to replace Attorney General Jeff Sessions. He is not Luther Strange, who is essentially Mitch McConnell's pet senator. He is someone that would be more along the lines of, well, President Trump. And you know how Mitch McConnell feels about President Trump. I am concerned that Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and Majority Whip John Cornyn are now in league with each other and are convincing other rank-and-file senators to withdraw their endorsements of Moore. Roy Moore is going to be on the ballot whether the GOP wants him or not. Senate President Pro Tem Orrin Hatch tweeted on Monday, that was yesterday, that sitting Senator Luther Strange, who was appointed in the immediate aftermath of Sessions' resignation, should keep the seat. But that's not what the people of Alabama want. So the Republican Party is turning into the party of, can it be tyranny? Is that it? No, it's our way. We don't believe in votes any longer. We don't believe in the people of Alabama. We only believe in ourselves, our sacred honor, and what we're going to do is we're not going to put Roy Moore, another ally of President Trump, in this Senate chamber, because then the balance of power changes and we can't be Democrats any longer. That's right. CNN's Manu Raju reports that top Senate Republicans are skeptical that Strange, who lost to Moore in a primary runoff, will be able to mount a successful write-in campaign. They won't. The people want Roy Moore. And all the propaganda in the world is not going to stop those people from voting for Roy Moore when it comes time. Now, he may end up losing the election, but at least the people of Alabama decided it. But this is the Republican Party that is perfectly willing to, well, okay, if we have to put up with losing another seat to the Democrats, I guess that's better than getting Roy Moore in. He's a Trump guy. We don't want him. We're going to disenfranchise every Republican voter in the state of Alabama. We're just going to disenfranchise them. We're just going to say, hey, you know what? We know better than you. We just know better than you. And what you need to do is you just need to back off and let us handle this. Nobody's saying that in the mainstream media, because the mainstream media realizes that even though there's a theoretical majority for Republicans in the Senate, they're all Democrats. That's why the mainstream media is playing along with Republicans on this one. Have you noticed that? Have you noticed there's only nastiness said about the United States Senate when it's someone like Rand Paul or Mike Lee or Ted Cruz or Roy Moore? Isn't that amazing? It's almost like the mainstream moderate namby-pamby, we're actually Democrat Republicans, can be left alone by the mainstream media. Isn't that weird? Senator Cory Gordon is the head of the Senate Republican Campaign Committee, the SRCC. He said in a statement that Moore should be expelled from the Senate even if he's elected. I don't think you should try that. The last time it happened was 1862. I don't think that would be a good idea. Moore can bow out. Alabama Republicans will need to scramble to push another candidate across the finish line, aiming to be one of the few Senate candidates in modern UN history or U.S. history to win a write-in campaign. Senator Murkowski of Alaska was the last person to pull it off. Democrat candidate Doug Jones is standing right there waiting for the Republican Party to go ahead and commit suicide. He's ready to jump right in. That would make the Republican majority 51 seats instead of 52. But at least the Republicans, the mainstream Republicans, would be able to have an excuse for not doing the president's bidding. Now, it would require 2/3 of the members in the Senate to oust Moore from the seat. It's happened 15 times in American history. Ten were ousted at once when they didn't show up in July of 1861. The other expulsion came earlier when Tennessee's William Blount backed a plan to overthrow Spain in Florida and give the territory to Great Britain in 1797. That's your basic treason. No member of the Senate has been booted from office since the Civil War, though expulsion proceedings have been initiated at least a dozen times since then, for everything from election fraud to embezzlement to Mormonism, according to the Senate Historic Office. Most recently, in 1995, Oregon Senator Robert Packwood was recommended for expulsion by a Senate panel for sexual misconduct and abuse of power. He resigned less than a month later. Lisa Murkowski won a write-in battle over her primary election victor, Joe Miller. Former Governor Sarah Palin called her bid a futile effort at the time, and the National Republican Senatorial Committee urged voters and Murkowski to fall in line behind Miller. Murkowski won the election with 39% of the vote versus 35% for Miller and 23% for the Democrat. So there you go. In the meantime, there is something that I have to say. I'm kind of confused. So you're guilty until you're proven innocent, right? So once again, Roy Moore, who says, I don't have any idea what these people are talking about, and that's where the story is. There's no evidence. It's her word against his. There are 5 women that say that he has done something ridiculous. 3 of those really had nothing to say to begin with, and I guess we're just sort of roped into it. There are 2, the 14-year-old who went to Roy Moore's house a few times, 30 minutes out, 30 minutes back, and said that when she was uncomfortable and wanted to go home, Roy Moore took her home. And then there's this other woman who said she was sexually assaulted in 1977 and left in a parking lot with a guy saying, no one will believe you. In the meantime, this guy's run for office every few years for 40 years, and nobody's brought any of this stuff up. So obviously, he's guilty, right? Well, let's go to Bob Menendez. Bob Menendez is being accused of corruption and bribery. The man has been indicted. He was indicted. He's been tried for corruption and bribery. The jury is trying to continue their deliberations. They cannot reach a unanimous verdict on any of the charges. The judge sent the jury home yesterday, but had them return today to continue with deliberations. The decision came after the judge had to speak with individual jurors about comments a dismissed juror made to the media over the weekend. Menendez, a New Jersey Democrat, not being asked to leave his post. He's guilty of corruption, or theoretically guilty of corruption, I mean, if Roy Moore is guilty of sexual misconduct, then certainly Bob Menendez is guilty of corruption and bribery. I mean, come on, all it takes is an accusation, right? Where's Chuck Schumer? He's accused, Menendez is accused of accepting a plethora of donations and gifts from a wealthy friend, in exchange for political influence. Solomon Melgen have maintained their innocence. Both Menendez and Solomon Melgen have maintained their innocence. It's the first time in 9 years a sitting United States senator is facing a federal bribery charge, and nobody's telling them to quit. Nobody's talking about ousting him. Nobody's talking about a 2/3 vote to get him out of office. 5 women in Alabama, however, have the entire Republican Party, in lockstep with each other about, hey, we've got to do something about Roy Moore. Yeah. Where was this unity when they were trying to vote on the repeal of Obamacare? Where was that? Oh, I see. So they're only in lockstep when they're working to give a Senate seat to a Democrat from Alabama. That's the way it works. Is the picture getting any clearer to you? Because it's getting mighty clear to me. And I'm not real happy about it. How about you? You're listening to the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. This is the USA Radio Network.
All right, man.
All right, man.
Doing great.
I really like the show today. I think it sounds good.
Yeah.
I don't really know. I mean, normally, see, it's kind of weird. It's like, normally I have more calls, but I think people are still trying to figure out what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I think they're going, who is this guy? What was really weird is that I got a big response for the Friday Flameout. And I really don't understand how come that was that way.
What was did you ask them a question or were they voice? I remembered. It seems like, was that when they were talking about stuff they're mad about or something?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. That's probably why, because people like to call in and tell you their opinion and stuff.
Right.
And
but I ask them questions that are designed to get an answer.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, that should get them in calling too then.
I mean, like, should Judge Roy Moore face the voters of Alabama?
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, or should the senators, should Republican senators decide whether he sits? I mean, it seems easy to me.
Yeah. I think a lot of people I know there's a lot of political junkies out there, but I think a lot of them aren't as serious of it as like most of us are.
So, okay. Yeah. That makes
but
sense.
I don't know. I got to figure out who, I don't really know your audience yet. Like, I've been working with Wayne for over a year, so I already know who the type of people are calling him and the type of people. I don't, but as we go forward, I'll probably get a better idea of who's listening.
I got you.
See, Wayne's thing is all like you and him are completely different. Like he's like how do I put it? He's kind of like not edgy, but he's kind of like more opinionated about stuff. Like I don't know. He's kind of like I guess he is a little edgy. Like, he says things sometimes that most people would be like, "What?"
Yeah,
that's crazy. But
right.
But it's kind of edgy. But that's just the way he is. Like he's just being himself, and he's kind of like Donald Trump a little bit. Like, so they say crazy things sometimes, and it always gets a response, no matter good or bad.
Right.
But it makes me have to watch the phones harder because Man, you got to really screen them calls, so you never know. Like, a guy tricked me a couple of weeks ago, and he sounded pleasant on the phone, but then as soon as he got on the air, he started cussing.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I had to drop the delay and all that, and
Sure.
And it almost got out. Like, I was like, man, that was close. But so now I'm like screening the calls really good. I mean, this guy purposely said, oh yeah, he knew that we were like a right-leaning show, and he was like, I want to talk about President Trump, and he's doing a great job. And then as soon as he got on the air, he started cussing about President Trump. All right, here we go, man.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Awesome.
You are listening to the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Our telephone number is 844-927-6691. 844-927-6691. So, Judge Roy Moore of Alabama wins his primary. The people of Alabama apparently behind him. All of these women show up after this is all a fait accompli. We're 4 weeks away from the actual election. And in the time-honored tradition of the October surprise, with elections usually in November, we're 4 weeks away and something unbelievably scurrilous is happening. We find out that Roy Moore, when he was a 30-year-old 40 years ago, may have gone out with some teenagers. We don't know what year. Well, I mean, teenagers, there are teenagers that are 18 and 19, But apparently these were younger. But so far, nobody can say, except one person, that they were sexually assaulted. Well, it's because apparently, unless you're sexually assaulted, nobody really pays that much attention to what's going on. But the thing about it is, even the one who's sexually assaulted really can't prove her case. It's 40 years later, 40 years. And isn't it strange that it just happens to show up just as Roy Moore, who is a certain Tea Party Republican, is about to take a seat in the Senate of the United States. Everyone, it seems as though everyone in the Republican caucus wants him to not run in the election, but his name's going to be on the ballot whether he runs or not. But that's not really the point for me. I mean, if the guy's guilty, let's throw him under the jail. But if he's not guilty, why is all this happening? Why is all this happening if he's not guilty? Because nobody can actually prove that he is. No blue dress. No real evidence. No real evidence. These women are what? They're keeping this secret for 40 years, really? So, it comes down to this for me. Should Judge Roy Moore face the voters of Alabama or a bunch of senators playing politics? When it comes to being elected in a legal election, should Judge Roy Moore face the voters of Alabama, or should he face the judgment of a bunch of guys who are saying you have to prove yourself innocent instead of us proving you guilty? You have to prove yourself innocent. See, that turns the rule of law completely on its head in the United States. And since a lot of these senators are lawyers, what does that tell you about the actual makeup and the actual reality of the United States Senate? You know what it looks like to me? Looks to me like it's a bunch of pernicious old men that are trying to play politics at a very high level. And the people of in this case, Alabama, No one cares. No one cares. No one cares. The people of Alabama completely being disenfranchised. Their election means nothing. Their election means nothing. Their votes mean nothing. Is that America? Is that what you're familiar with? Look, if the people of Alabama, and they would know better than anybody else in America, right? They've lived with this guy for 40 years. Let them vote. Let them vote. Normally, you take somebody into a courtroom and 12 of their peers make a decision. Well, now you can have everybody in the state of Alabama act as that jury. You know, that sounds a lot more American to me than anything else. So why is it that the Republican Party wants to be un-American? Why do they want to be anti-democracy? Why do they want to be oppressors and tyrants and impose a senator on the people of Alabama for 6 years? Why is that? All I know is it's a sad day for the United States Senate. It's a very sad day for the United States Senate. So sad, in fact, that maybe it's not the Senate after all. Maybe it's just a bunch of bitter old men trying to prove each other who's boss. This is the Wells Report on the USA Radio Network. Ugh. Jeez Louise, bees, knees, trees, fleas.
Yeah, it's pretty sad, man. Like, you know that he was a public figure for so long, and
Oh, absolutely.
that this stuff just comes up right when he goes national, and it just seems like they went down there and picked the story out and brought it to the to the media. Yeah, that's what it seems like. It could have been there the whole time, but it just seems like they went and brought it up just to get him in trouble. I think it's pretty messed up that if they vote him in, that they might not even seat him, though.
Well, they can't do that. They're not going to do that.
Yeah.
No, they won't. They will not do it.
Yeah.
I mean, people would take to the streets.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think if they vote for him and he wins, that they should go ahead and give it to him because it's the voters spoke, you know.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's I mean, the Republicans they're not being American. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, politics these days is pretty bad, man. Like everybody, like I can't even bring it up. Like people ask me where I work sometimes, and I'm like, I tell them where I work, but like I was around some people that I could tell were like probably hardcore liberals, and they were like, "So is it like NPR?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's sort of like that."
It's like that, except completely different.
Yeah. I didn't want to get into it with them because everybody is either like you mentioned Donald Trump, and everybody's either like hate him or love him,
This is cool. It's like I'm trying. There's a guy who's a friend of mine.
Yeah.
And apparently he's listening to the show.
Mm-hmm.
and I'm trying to figure out whether or not he's listening to the broadcast. I don't know that he is.
Oh, okay.
Be nice if he was, because he might be in Hawaii.
Oh. Oh, you mean like if he's listening off a station or listening off your feed online?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
It could be. I don't know.
Man, sometimes we hear about stations that we didn't even know we had. Like, a guy called the other day, and Chris asked him, where are you calling from? And he told him about it. I forget what city it was, but we didn't even know we had an affiliate in that city.
Right.
I didn't. Maybe the affiliate people do, but.
Well, apparently there are radio stations around the country that are just putting the show on.
Oh, okay, cool.
Which I thought was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Back in 10 seconds.
You are listening to the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Our telephone number is 844-927-6691. Gosh, there's just sexual misconduct all over the place. Sexual harassment, sexual assault, sexual this, sexual that. My gosh. For years now, we've been hearing that 98.6% of women have been sexually harassed in their life. It's not that bad. Wait a minute. Let me find out. Let me see here. Let's unleash the incredible power of Google, shall we? Let's see. Percentage of women claiming sexual harassment. Percentage of women claiming was, let's see, why women don't report it. 2015. Okay, this is the Huffington Post. Let's see. 1 in 3 women. So 30% of women have been, 33.3% of women have been sexually harassed. 71% of those people did not report it. 1/3. That's 2015. 1 in 5 females said they have experienced sexual harassment at some level. Sexual harassment at some level. You're not going to believe this, but young actresses trying to make their name in Hollywood were occasionally shown the casting couch. I know this is brand new technology that no one's ever heard of since the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s. I know that has nothing to do with it, but there are so many people that are now in trouble because of Hollywood legend and producer Harvey Weinstein. Harvey Weinstein, Steve Jurvetson, Hamilton Fish, Michael Oreskes, Mark Halperin, John Besh, Robert Scoble, Roy Price, Terry Richardson, Leon Wieseltier, Gavin Baker. See who else? Oh, and Capitol Hill. Well, it's harder to name all the sexual harassers on Capitol Hill because there's a law on the books. It's been on the books for more than a decade that gives anyone accusing a federal lawmaker of sexual harassment the right to sue, but only if they consent to a lengthy, drawn-out process that includes a written statement within 180 days of the incident, 30 days of counseling, another month or so of mediation. During that time, the claimant's employer will be notified. The lawmaker's identity, however, will remain confidential, even if he or she is found guilty. Should there be a settlement, the American taxpayer pays the settlement with no public disclosure, no consequences for the harasser. The so-called process was clearly drafted to protect the institution instead of those being abused. Survivors have to sign a never-ending non-disclosure agreement just to start the complaint process, which is unheard of in the private sector, then continue to work in their office alongside their harasser. There's more. Lawmakers in both parties said today that current members of Congress have been involved in sexual harassment and suggested mandatory training for lawmakers and their staffs. Well, why shouldn't they be told to leave and resign? That's what they're doing with Roy Moore. I mean, these people actually know that this is happening. Roy Moore, it's mainly just innuendo. Lawmakers in both parties said the current members of Congress have been involved in sexual harassment, and they suggest mandatory training for lawmakers and their staffs. You know what? The Republicans need to shut up and get Roy Moore into that chamber so he can undergo some of that training for lawmakers and their staffs. Representative Barbara Comstock of Virginia said a hearing on preventing sexual harassment on Capitol Hill said that she was told about a staffer who quit her job after a lawmaker asked her to bring work material to his house, then exposed himself. Representative Jackie Spire of California said at the same hearing there are two current members who have been involved in sexual harassment. Neither Comstock nor Spire provided names for the suspected lawmakers. Why? If they're such terrible, horrible, rotten people, why not expose them? I mean, their names, not their, There's no place for sexual harassment in our society, period, and especially in Congress, said Representative Greg Harper of Mississippi, chairman of the House Administration Committee. Well, then why aren't these two women lawmakers telling people about who's who? Why aren't they naming names? Sexual harassment is a national problem. Congress is not immune from the issue. You think? So it's a national issue. Sexual harassment is a national issue. Rotten, piggish men. Well, you know me. I don't just complain. I come up with solutions. And I've come up with a couple of solutions that I think we should at least consider. So here's the telephone number, 844-927-6691, 844-927-6691, 844-927-6691. Let's see. What? Okay, let's see. All right, fine. All right, I was just looking at a bulletin that had nothing to do with anything. Anyway, so I have solutions for the sexual harassment epidemic that is sweeping the nation. Are you ready? Here we go. Henceforth and forever, should men, as a new rule, limit our public spoken communications with any women to yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am. 844-927-6691. Should men, as a new rule, limit our public spoken communications with women to only yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am? Telephone number is 844-927-6691. This, I'm assuming, would completely obviate any way for any man to commit sexual harassment. Yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am. You see, if you limit your responses to yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am, the only person that can then inject any kind of sexual harassment into the conversation would be the female. See? Yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am. What do you think? 844-927-6691. I'm not kidding. I'm very serious. You've heard me tell the story about minding your manners and keeping your hands to yourself. Mind your manners. Keep your hands to yourself. Believe me, if she wants you to do something else, she'll tell you. But then that's putting the onus on her. That way you are not responsible for sexual harassment. Therefore, should men, as a new rule, forever limit our public spoken communications with women to only yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am. Are you having a great day? Yes, ma'am. Are you feeling limited in your communications? No, ma'am. It's exactly the right thing to do. This is the kind of genius that you pay for, and that's why you're listening to this broadcast. All we do, henceforth and forever, men in America, limit our spoken communications with women in public to only yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am. Unless, of course, you're talking to Barbara Boxer, in which case you should say yes, Senator, and no, Senator. I think this is genius. I think this is brilliant. I think this is something that we should have done long, long ago. Again, should men, as a new rule, limit our public spoken communications with women to only yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am. I'd like to hear from women, if you don't mind. I really would. I'd like to hear from women, females. If you happen to be a female near a telephone, would you please call me on the telephone and tell me what you think of this new rule where men would only answer yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am. Let me get to Warren in Arizona. Warren, thanks for joining us. Welcome to the Wells Report.
Well, hey, John David, how are you?
I'm great, man. Thanks for calling.
Cool. So you touched on something that's it's a real hot button issue with me. So your idea of just limiting your responses to yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am sounds good in theory, but the problem is that in corporate culture, if you do that, you wind up being tagged for retaliation because you're being mean to them, and it's a real fine line that males have to walk.
Well, what you have to do is you have to be very, very sweet. You say yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am. And you mean it. I'm telling you, you actually mean it. You do. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Yep.
Are you being mean to me? No, ma'am. No, ma'am. No. You see, you went too far. You see, because the more words you use, Warren, the more they can assume that you're retaliating. See, I've thought about this. I've spent a lot of time thinking about this, and I'm believing that the thing to do is just yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am. Is that all you have to say?
Well, it works with the wife. So.
Well, is that all you have to say? Yes, ma'am. You just have to, you have to be, you see, this is what has to happen. Now, if we actually do this, and by the way, Warren, you seem to be very, very aware. If what you do, are you single? No, you're not single. You're married.
I am.
How long have you been married?
24 years.
Congratulations. God bless you. So here's what I'm thinking. What I'm thinking is that we tell all of our unmarried male friends to stop buying drinks and dinner for women. Make them buy dinner and drinks for us. And what we do is,
good luck with that.
No, it'll work. It'll work. Just all you got to do is stop buying dinner and drinks. Just stop. Stop buying dinner and drinks.
In a monastery, I suppose.
No. You don't live in a monastery. You just go to a bar and you sit down there and you have yourself a drink, you dress nicely, you get a good haircut, you shave well, take good care of yourself, make sure that you're in good shape, wear red shoes, and just sit at the bar.
Don't forget.
Just twiddle with your hair. That's what I'm thinking. See, if you do this, Warren, the sexual harassment epidemic will be over in minutes. Think about it. 844-927-6691. 844-927-6691. Should we, as men, as a new rule, limit our public spoken communications with women to only yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am? I do have another remedy, but it's a little more, shall we say, draconian. But I have a way of protecting women from the horrors of sexual harassment. And that's all I want to do. I want to protect these women from the horrors of being thought of as being attractive and having some man be rude. That's what I'm thinking. What is this draconian solution? I will share it with you coming up next. But we may be in a situation now where there really is there's no way for men to survive undamaged with women around. And I think that what we ought to do is we ought to start being smarter than this ridiculous mess that we find ourselves in. And that being said, stick around. More great advice next on the Wells Report on the USA Radio Network.
All right. I like the part about red shoes.
That was funny, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, that was funny. See, I love this kind of stuff. Yeah. I mean, seriously, we could go out there and we could wear our date underwear.
I don't know if it works the same for guys, man, because
no, it does.
Some of us aren't as well, or some of us aren't as well. Some of the men aren't as well groomed.
Well,
we might not attract.
You got to be groomed, man.
Yeah.
No, man, it's not a haircut's not. It's just not enough.
What I mean is, Harold, let me get this call real quick.
Go ahead. I need a woman to call.
All right, man. It's hard to get women callers, man.
It really is.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I guess I don't know why that is, but I guess maybe there's not a lot of women who listen to this type of radio.
Well,
but it seems to be like a universal thing.
What I'm doing is I'm trying to get a girl to call me.
Yeah. Oh, there's another one. All right.
This is maybe her.
45 seconds, man. I'm going to answer this call.
All right. You are listening to the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Our telephone number is 844-927-6691. Here's what I think. I believe that there is no way for men and women to coexist without women feeling like they are sexually harassed, unless men make dramatic changes in the way we communicate publicly. Let me give you an example. What I'm saying is that a new rule, men should limit our public spoken communications with women to only these answers: yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am. That is what we should do. Because that way, if anybody says anything stupid, she will have to be the one to say something stupid. And then you, of course, could return with, oh, no, ma'am. See what I mean? Let me get to John in Nevada. Thanks very much for joining us. Welcome to the Wells Report.
Okay.
So what do you think? You think we should say yes, ma'am, or no, ma'am? And you think that's, see, I think that's a brilliant plan.
Well, I say no, sirree, Bob, Sam.
Pardon?
I say my stays a yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, and sometimes, darn. But no, I just think what we do say does need to be respectable, and both sides. But people are too uptight anymore. You can't say anything, even in fun. You can't, and when it's obvious fun. And if somebody sees an opportunity to sue, someone else tells them, you can sue over that. You can.
Oh, yes, you can. Absolutely. Let me get to Dawn in Dallas. Dawn, thanks very much for joining us. Welcome to the Wells Report. Hello.
Hi, JD.
What do you think?
I got to tell you something.
Yes.
The minute that we're looking good and a man does not look at us while we walk by, we're going to be angry.
Oh, no, ma'am.
And we like the flirtation as long as that's all it is. You know what I mean?
No, ma'am.
Your last caller was right. It has gotten absolutely out of control.
Yes, ma'am.
So, there's a reason that we spend so much money on makeup and clothes and things like that, because we enjoy the attention.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, it's just a fact.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, yes, sir. Okay.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. Yes, ma'am.
Well, that's what I've got.
That's all?
I think so. Yeah.
Well,
I'm just saying that women like the attention, and
yeah.
I you know what I'm saying? It's not.
You see, that's what I'm kind of confused.
It's just natural.
You see, I'm kind of confused. I have to be perfectly honest with you, and I'm glad you called, because I'm confused with this sexual harassment thing. Because if you like the flirtation, how come so many men are being, thrown on spears all over America, impaled with their horrifyingly terrible sexual harassment just when they're about to take office as a senator or something?
Well, I think it's very fishy. And I got to tell you something. As a woman that's nice looking and everything, I have never had those kind of issues with a man throwing themselves on me. So it just sounds like it's really getting ramped up. And I don't know what this guy did. I have no idea. But it's just very, very fishy.
Well, that's what I'm thinking.
And if it did happen 40 years ago, it didn't end in rape. It was just an assault. And that doesn't mean it's right. But why are you still crying and carrying on?
I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, especially if you're doing that, then it's an act. And then if you're acting, there's a casting couch problem. You see, you're going from out of the frying pan and into the fire.
Well, right. And anytime I've ever been offended, I'm not still crying about it. I'm over it today.
Well, yeah, that's because you stab someone to death. Usually, I'm just saying that's the way that works. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. See, these are the things that we need to, as men, we need to be able to master in our own lives. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. And an occasional 3 bags full, ma'am. The executive producer of the Wells Report is the Philip Brown. Studio coordinator is Mike Hawkins. I'm John David Wells. See you tomorrow.
All right, man. Good show.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
I appreciate that.
All
Good
right.
old Dawn. I love her. She is fantastic.
Yeah.
Would you say thank you to her for me?
Oh, I definitely will.
Thank you, sir.
All right, man.
All right. God bless. Take care. I'll talk to you later.
All right. Have a good one, man.
Yeah, you too. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye. One, 9, 2.